Welcome to our final Criterion preview video for 2023. And the film we're about to feature could end up instantly in many collectors' top 10 films of the year, as it comes from director Guillermo Del Toro and it's his realisation of the story of Pinocchio. Collodi's original serial, which was titled Le avventure di Pinocchio, storia di un barattino, The Adventures of Pinocchio, the story of a puppet, was meant to serve as a warning against bad behaviour, and it ended with Pinocchio's fatal hanging. Now, the disappointment of the story's fans, however, led Collodi's publishers to insist that he resurrect Pinocchio and continue with the puppet's adventures. Like many Tuscan folk tales, Pinocchio has important moral lessons for children. For instance, disobedience does not pay, telling lies is seldom prudent, and boys who love and take care of their parents will inevitably be rewarded. It was translated into numerous languages, with an English language version first appearing in text in 1892, and it was released under a number of titles. In addition, the book was adapted for film, television and theatre. The Disney film is the best known adaptation, of course, though it's significantly different than the book, which is much darker and portrays Pinocchio as more selfish and aggressive. However, the book has some humorous slapstick that is absent from the Disney version. With this version, Del Toro also accesses the darker, more horror-related recesses of the tale, as is his wont, given his previous fantasy outings like Pan's Labyrinth. He also chose to shoot the film using a mixture of modern stop-motion animation and live action, a brave undertaking, but if there's one director to bet on doing that, it would be Del Toro. Everyone will be familiar, of course, with the full story of the little wooden boy, and the story itself will be part of many viewers' childhoods, mainly, of course, through seeing the Disney animated feature from 1940. A long-time passion project for Del Toro, who considers that no other character ever had as deep of a personal connection to him as Pinocchio, the film is dedicated to the memories of his parents. It was originally announced in 2008, with a release due to happen in 2013 or 2014. However, it went into development hell. In January of 2017, McHale, creator of Over the Garden Wall, was announced to co-write the screenplay, but production was suspended in November 2017, as no studios were willing to provide financing. It was revived the following year after being acquired by Netflix. Pinocchio premiered at the 66th BFI London Film Festival on October 15, 2022, and it was released in select theatres on November the 9th and also began streaming on Netflix on December the 9th. It received critical acclaim for its animation, voice acting, emotional depth, musical score and visuals, and it also received multiple accolades, including winning the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature and 3 Golden Globe nominations, winning Best Animated Feature Film. Del Toro is the first Latino to win the Golden Globe category. The film is set in fascist Italy during the interwar period and World War II, and the film stars the voice of Gregory Mann as Pinocchio and David Bradley as Geppetto, alongside Ewan McGregor, Bern Gorman, Ron Perlman, John Turturro, Finn Wolfhard, Kate Blanchett, Tim Blake Nelson, Christoph Waltz and Tilda Swinton. In assembling the film's impressive voice cast, Del Toro and Gustafsson selected multiple Academy Award winners and gifted performers with the past creative ties with the former. Daniel Radcliffe, Tom Waits and Christopher Walken were originally considered to star in the film, and Waits was reportedly considered to voice Geppetto, and Del Toro was reported by film to be floating up casting for Walken as the fox, though he was also considering Donald Sutherland for that part. Radcliffe would later instead remain as executive producer of the film. Early on during the film's development, Del Toro first approached John Hurt, with whom he had worked on Hellboy and Hellboy 2: The Golden Army, to voice Geppetto, but Hurt unfortunately died in 2017, long before any recordings for the film had begun. On January the 31st, 2020, it was announced that Ron Perlman, Tilda Swinton, Ewan McGregor, Christoph Waltz and David Bradley had joined the cast. Now, Bradley was chiefly cast due to his previous collaborations with Del Toro on the television series The Strain and Troll Hunters: Tales of Arcadia. He considered his role as Geppetto to be a real emotional roller coaster of a part, feeling it to resemble more King Lear than the Pinocchio story he'd heard as a child. Del Toro's version amplifies the psychological nightmare implicit in the story of a sad, childless craftsman in Italy who, in the agonies of grief, creates a puppet that becomes a real boy. Now, when Geppetto's son dies in an air raid at the end of the First World War, young Pinocchio is the tragic substitute brought to life by occult forces that are far from Walt Disney's sweetness. He is dragooned first into a travelling circus and then, finally, into the young fascisti. This Pinocchio riffs on the idea of innocence and guilt in the age of Mussolini, almost like a cross between Frankenstein's monster and Oscar Ingundergrass's The Tin Drum. David Bradley voices the old man Geppetto, Gregory Mann is Pinocchio, Ron Perlman is the fascist Podesta, Christopher Waltz is the carnival master Count Volpe, and Ewan McGregor is the quirky conscience keeper Sebastian J. Cricket. The movie is potent and sombre, though I couldn't help thinking that the story of a wooden puppet boy in this stop-motion world where everyone looks like a wooden puppet is somehow extraneous. For me, this version, with its carefully packaged fantasy horror element, doesn't have the anarchy and inexplicability of Roberto Benigni or Matteo Garrone's Pinocchio from 2 years ago, but it certainly has its moments of poignancy and sadness, and McGregor's droll tones as a long-suffering cricket provide some grace notes of fun. Now let's come on to the production itself, and as they say, patience is a virtue, and Del Toro has certainly got this in spades. Filming commenced at the Portland, Oregon offices of Shadow Machine, January 31st, 2020. Production continued through early summer of 2022, with some select sequences being handled by Del Toro's own Centro Internacional de Animación local studio. All sets, props, and character costumes were crafted to the same historical and realistic standards Del Toro's live-action work has often contained, leading to a mix of stop-motion and live-action styles that support the film's themes. Animators were also encouraged to achieve naturalistic performances from the puppets by making them commit mistakes like itching, sneezing, or looking away if embarrassed or scared in order to shoot the characters thinking and listening, traits not usually shot in animation. For Count Volpe's Carnival, Davis and Enduro drew from the reference material library collected for Del Toro's previous film Nightmare Alley, which prominently was set in a 1930s carnival and in which Davis had previously worked as a concept artist, even though that film's carnival was one settled in the American Midwest rather than in Europe. Some Nightmare Alley early shots featuring Bradley Cooper's Stanton Carlyle arriving at the carnival inspired the sequence that establishes Volpe's carnival, and afterlife sequences and the end credits were animated by Studio El Taller in Churcho in Guadalajara in Mexico. Moving Picture Company worked on the visual effects along with Bot VFX and Mist VFX. And with the win of the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, Pinocchio was the first animated film for a streaming service under the animation studio Netflix Animation, and this would also have competed with 3 previous nominations for the same category. Now, the film's visuals look sumptuous in the 4K UHD format, and with the Dolby Vision HDR grading, it literally explodes off the screen. Framing and composition is very well considered, and it's a literal feast for the eyes. And as you've certainly seen this already, some of the video shots from the film as screen grabs. Now, it comes resplendent with a Dolby Atmos mix, and quite frankly, the Netflix streaming release just didn't do this justice at all. It comes alive on this 4K Blu-ray disc. The disc comes to Criterion within their Netflix collaboration with an impressive set of supplemental features. 4K Digital Master, supervised by directors Guillermo Del Toro and Mark Gustafson, with Dolby Atmos soundtrack. There's one 4K UHD disc of the film in Dolby Vision HDR and one Blu-ray with the film and special features. Hand-Carved Cinema, a new documentary featuring Del Toro, Gustafson and cast and crew, including the film's puppet creators, production designers and animation supervisor. Directing Stop Motion, a new program featuring Del Toro and Gustafson. New conversation between Del Toro and film critic Farron Smith-Name. New interview with curator Ron Magliosi on the Museum of the Modern Art's 2022 exhibition devoted to the film. New programme on the 8 rules of animation that informed the film's production. A panel discussion featuring Del Toro, Gustafsson, production designer Guy Davis, composer Alexander Desplat, and sound designer Scott Martin Gershon, moderated by the filmmaker James Cameron. Conversation among Del Toro, Gustafsson and author Neil Gaiman. And essays by the film critic Matt Zoller-Seitz and the author Cornelia Funk. Cover artwork is by James Jean. It goes without saying that Del Toro's attention to detail, displayed in his recent features Nightmare Alley and The Shape of Water, is without parallel, and the same applies to this release. Coming in really attractive packaging from Criterion, I love Pinocchio's nose. Guillermo Del Toro's Pinocchio comes to the collection with a running time of 117 minutes, and it's in widescreen aspect ratio, no black bars, as spine 1201, and it releases on Tuesday the 12th of December in the US and on Monday the 18th of December in the UK. Don't miss it. On that note, we come to the end of our previews for this year in the Criterion collection, and what an interesting and diverse year it has really been. Now, I'll be choosing my personal favourites in a Boxing Day top 10 here on the channel, and I'm also planning a holiday live stream to talk about forthcoming titles in 2024. Well, I'd love you to come along to that. Thanks again to everyone who have discovered the channel this year and for taking the time out to watch the videos. Please subscribe and comment if you haven't done so already. From me, it's Happy Christmas and keep watching those Criterion movies.